The CDC is recommending all Americans wear masks if they are in an area with significant community spread. Again, your task force has identified Des Moines as an area of concern. You've come under criticism for not wearing a mask recently, and one of your staffers just tested positive.
Right.
Respectfully, Mr. Vice President, why were you not wearing a mask today?
I asked Pete Buttigieg earlier today if it's all a little surreal that he's come this far in this process.
But more people actually said a celebrity endorsement would make them less likely to vote for that candidate than more likely.
The Make America Great Again victory rally held here at the Dubuque airport was the second of 5 rallies President Donald Trump was scheduled to hold Sunday, just 2 days before Election Day.
But when you take a closer look at each of these counties, there's another trend. All of the counties that will be sending the request forms have mostly Democratic voters. Paul Trombino, who works with this data in the governor's office, says up to about 80,000 tests are administered in the state each week. That's a lot higher than the number that our data is showing right now.
Just a week until the Iowa caucuses, we spoke with supporters of candidates who are both in D.C. and in Iowa right now to find out if they think that these absences are really going to make a difference on caucus night.
The chair of the Dubuque County Democrats says as far as he knows, he doesn't have to do anything for this process, but he's not certain because he says he hasn't gotten communication on this matter or on much else from the Iowa Democratic Party over the last week.
I'm frustrated with it. I understand that they have a lot of pressure on them right now, but as a county chair, there's a lot of issues going on.
Dubuque County Democratic Party Chair Steve Drahazal says the caucus questions he's been asked over the last week have been nonstop. But in that time, all he's heard from the Iowa Democratic Party about what's going on is in a few emails.
Other than that, I have not heard anything from the IDP. Everything that I'm finding out through media reports.
That includes news that 2 candidates requested recanvasses at multiple Dubuque County precincts. One of those, requested by Bernie Sanders' campaign, is at a precinct where someone had alerted Drahazal to a math error in the allocation of county delegates.
Elizabeth Warren was the closest to being rounded up, the 2.438. Pete Buttigieg got an extra delegate, and Elizabeth Warren was shorted a delegate.
Drahazal believes this was a good faith error.
This precinct chair caucused for a candidate other than Pete Buttigieg.
But no one's told him what he's supposed to do about this, if anything. On Monday, State Party Chair Troy Price said no one should correct the math on those caucus worksheets.
For us, they are the official record of what took place in the room. And we do not believe that we should be altering what is the official record of what happened in the room.
Drahazal says he knows of at least one other precinct where the precinct chair didn't include much on the worksheet besides the final results. And again, he doesn't know what to do next.
I don't know if we're to even correct these issues.
The Field of Dreams, an Iowa icon. But at bat this week wasn't Shoeless Joe.
Staying alive with the foul ball.
It was Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, whose campaign hosted a softball game at the Dyersville Field Monday night.
I like how they try to do something different rather than just talking at us. They're trying to get us involved with the baseball game and everything.
How could you not come out and watch Bernie play baseball at the Field of Dreams? It's quintessential Iowa.
The game happened days after Sanders and the other Democratic presidential candidates made the rounds at the Iowa State Fair.
It's great to be with y'all in Des Moines.
Speaking from the Des Moines Register soapbox and having a bit of fun, too. Some voters say this lets them see a personal side of the candidates they might not get from stump speeches.
They're just like us. It's just they're also campaigning to be president.
According to a University of Iowa political science professor, that relatability is key.
To some extent, likability is an important quality that a lot of people feel is needed in candidates.
And at the state fair, not much is more relatable than tasting just about everything that's offered. But will all this matter come caucus night?
In terms of sort of the absolute yes or no, probably the answer is no.
But Tim Hagel says it can help.
It's the kind of a thing where you say, well, yeah, I kind of like that person, and then maybe if the person you really like drops out and you've got to go for a second choice or whatever it happens to be, then maybe that's somebody that you have a good feeling about and can go with them.
I am currently on the U.S. border with Mexico in Eagle Pass.
That's more than 1,000 miles away from Iowa's 1st congressional district. But Congresswoman Ashley Hinson says immigration affects her home state's workforce and security. Hinson toured the border Thursday, along with a processing facility at Eagle Pass, and met with Texas law enforcement officers, where they discussed how to resolve immigration issues.
We have to stop catch and release. That's something we've been hearing from law enforcement. We need to have stricter controls on asylum, and they've all echoed what we've said here. We need to secure the border. We need a wall at the border, and we need border security.
That's a similar message advocated in this letter sent to President Joe Biden on Wednesday and signed by nearly 300 current and former sheriffs from around the U.S., including 10 from Iowa. But Joe Henry, the political director of LULAC Iowa, the nation's largest Latino civil rights organization, says lawmakers should move in the opposite direction and give legal status to all undocumented people in the U.S., except those convicted of serious felonies.
These undocumented immigrants have been working hard, have been playing a part in all our communities, have been playing a part in rebuilding Iowa in agriculture, meat processing, construction, services, healthcare.
At the center of much debate about the current situation at the border is Title 42. It was enacted by former President Donald Trump to allow Border Patrol to expel any migrant for health or safety reasons, in this case, the pandemic. Biden has kept Title 42 in place for the most part, but has made an exception for unaccompanied minors, allowing them in. Experts say that reversal has contributed to the recent surge of children arriving at the border, along with other factors pushing them out of their home countries like violence, poverty, and natural disasters. Henry says all of Title 42 should be reversed.
When it comes to, worrying about COVID and other things, I mean, it's already been announced by the president that by the end of April, there'll be enough serums and so forth to vaccinate all Americans. I mean, what are we worried about?
Hinson says a border agent told her a policy like Title 42 should stay in place permanently.
That's feedback I'm going to take back to Washington and try to work on policies to help fix. It makes us more safe. It makes us more streamlined.
But right now, thousands of children are currently in U.S. custody. Hinson says this has pulled agents away from securing the border to care for them.
It's created a drain on our resources and a humanitarian crisis that is escalating every day and making our country less safe.
Henry says the federal government should be able to place children in homes throughout the country, including in Iowa. He says families are already reaching out to LULAC Iowa, saying they want to take these children in.
These kids are not drug dealers. They're not violent criminals. They are refugees. We need to do the right thing. We need to do our part.
After closing out last semester in a virtual classroom, Waterloo West High School teacher Jonathan Grider is eager to get back to his real classroom, as long as it's safe.
I don't think pushing to be back in the classroom just so that we can say that we did that is necessarily the best move.
Grider says this guidance on reopening schools from the Iowa Department of Education won't keep him and his students safe if they are back in the classroom. For example, the state is not recommending that schools require students and staff to wear face coverings, saying there's a stigma around both wearing and not wearing masks. The CDC says that face coverings should be worn by staff and students as feasible.
If we can teach our kids how to deal with shooting events in their schools, if we can teach kids what to do in case there's a tornado or a fire, what are we doing if we can't teach them how to be safe from a virus?
The state's also not requiring social distancing in schools, saying it might not be feasible all the time. And it claims that the CDC doesn't recommend schools screen students and staff when they enter the building. But the CDC actually recommends that schools conduct daily health checks of staff and students if feasible. In a statement, the Iowa Department of Education says its guidance, quote, provides school districts and non-public schools the flexibility to best meet the needs of their students, staff, families, and communities. In response, the president of the state's largest teaching union says they're, quote, deeply disappointed with this guidance, adding, quote, the Iowa Department of Education's reopening guidance is inconsistent with CDC guidance, common sense, and good public policy, and we cannot recommend support. Grider says he's disheartened by what he views as the state leaving schools to fend for themselves.
We have to do better than this. This isn't partisan. This isn't about party. This is about keeping people safe. And these guidelines don't do that.